Megan Porth is the owner and managing attorney of YourContractShop.com. She manages a law firm in the cloud, and she aims to make seeing an attorney as easy as buying a book on Amazon. Hi, I'm Emily LaRouche. Are you ready to make the journey from lawyer to entrepreneur? Every week, I'm sitting down with people who have mastered the art of running a business and want to share with you the lessons they've learned along the way. Join me as we experience the highs, the lows, and everything in between as we learn, share, and grow together. Welcome to Share the Love. Megan, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Emily.
So I want to know, why would you give up a cushy career, great benefits, a steady gig, to go off and do your own thing with your big crazy idea?
I get this question a lot, especially from attorneys. They're going, how are you doing this, Megan? And really, it was all about my clients, but it was also about my lifestyle. When I looked at the traditional legal career, it didn't make sense to me. When you look at like a first-year associate, for instance, they actually end up working about 3,000 hours a year. And when you break that down, that's only about $50 an hour, Emily. And I
Ouch.
said, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. I'm really fortunate. I came from an entrepreneurial background, so I was able to review the entire legal business model and say, I think I can do a couple of things differently here. And that was how Your Contract Shop came about.
So you don't do hourly billing. Why not?
Well, okay, hourly billing it's a big no-no, right, in my firm. And in fact, we don't engage in any hourly billing. Everything is flat rate. And part of the reason is for my clients. I feel like they have trouble managing how much they're going to be spending on legal if they don't know how much it is.
Right.
If it's simply a $5,000 retainer at $250 an hour, you know, okay, well, I'm going to have to give up $5,000 initially, but how much of that will be spent and so on. So I'd like to engage in more flat rate value billing for my clients because I think it allows them to engage their budget in a more realistic way. I also like it for my lifestyle, to be honest with you. When you have to manage your life in tenths of an hour, that is suffocating. It's extremely oppressive. So when we were looking at how are we going to build these things out, how are we going to rate it out, we actually looked at not only what our clients needed, but also what attorneys need in their lifestyle.
I love that. We're trying to do some virtual assistant work, and so we're finding that, again, same thing. We bill in a quarterly increment, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a nightmare to track and turn it on, turn it off. Timing, exactly. I hate it.
Exactly.
It's awful.
And it's overly cumbersome, and it takes a lot of overhead to manage. And furthermore, for attorneys in particular, there is a lot of legal malpractice if you aren't managing all of your hours. Now, even if you're at a flat rate, you need to be keeping track of the work that you're doing so that if something comes up later and you need to refund somebody some money, but really there isn't as much overhead and as much administration involved with a flat rate billing scheme.
So do you think you have to limit your scope of practice in order to make the flat rate work so it's replicatable?
Yes. Now, I am looking eventually at possibly doing some kind of legal clinic that incorporates some kind of limited scope representation. Litigation is very difficult to do on a flat rate billing schedule because you don't know what's going to come down the pipeline. The other side could settle after the answer is filed, or they could file 100 motions. You don't know. But I really feel like transactional work, whether it's estate planning or contract review and drafting, can definitely be done through a flat rate schedule.
Is that something you think is really scalable?
100%, I think it's the only way to scale it up, to be honest with you. Because when we look at the work that we're doing at the firm, we're looking at, okay, well, how much is it going to cost us to have, for instance, a paralegal review or draft this agreement before the attorney gets a hold of it? Well, we have to be able to quantify that. And in order to quantify it, we have to have real numbers, not some, inflated or guess. And because our rates are so competitive, our margins are really slim. So we have to be very, very careful with our numbers. But it is scalable. You can grow bigger, and I think it's the only way to do it, actually.
Perfect. And I met Megan when I was looking to get some partnership documents drawn up, and she was able to do it at an affordable price. And for me as a consumer, I'm looking for an attorney, and they'll quote $300, $400, $500 an hour.
Right.
That doesn't really tell me anything.
Exactly.
To me, in my mind, I'm thinking they're going to bill me for 10 hours. They're going to bill me for 20 hours. I could probably go to LegalZoom and get this printed out. And so for Megan to say, oh, here, less than $500, I can do those documents for you, and that's all we do is we work on contracts, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's a no-brainer. So for me as a consumer, I look for people who niche in the services that I want because I know it's all they do. They're going to be efficient, hopefully. Right. They're going to be affordable and
effective. They'll know their stuff.
Yes. So how did you decide, okay, I'm going to niche, I'm going to make this business, and it's going to be contracts?
Probably because I'm a super nerd. I like efficiency, I like effectiveness, but really I love entrepreneurship. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. And our entire economy and our entire industry is built on an innumerable number of contracts, ones that we're engaging in all day, every day that we may even not know that we're doing. When I started out practicing law, I actually started working in some litigation firms because I really liked being on a stage, if you haven't noticed. But what I hated was when I would turn around and I would see my client behind me and their lives were literally falling apart. And almost every single time it had to do with a contract. It was not reviewing a commercial lease or understanding what their rights and responsibilities were. It was not having an operating agreement, which I get a lot of in their industry. So they don't understand, okay, well, in our company, who does what and who's responsible and so on. If they had simply had an attorney review those contracts or draft them prior to and not grab them from LegalZoom or some other website, then they could have had this remedied, and it's more proactive rather than reactive. So I really liked that component. I also really liked the transactional part of it. Again, I'm looking at not just serving my clients, but creating a lifestyle for myself and the other attorneys that I work with that will be more, it's liberating to be able to review a contract, have your transactional work done, and then go home. Right? And not have the stress of the litigation and that you've destroyed someone's life.
Yep. And then, so since you niche your services and you know exactly what you do, did you ever have to sell in your previous firms, like sell your services and try and do consultations? Do you find it different?
It is different. It's easier. It's much easier, which was actually surprising to me, to be quite honest with you, because I was concerned that because we have a non-traditional name, Your Contract Shop, because we are web-based, because we don't have a huge office on the 13th floor in downtown, I was worried that we were going to have to do a lot of marketing, networking, and advertising to overcome those objections. Are you guys a legitimate law firm? What makes you as good as this other law firm that wants to charge me $500 an hour? That actually hasn't been that much of a hurdle to overcome because of the nature of the work that we do. And also, I think because once they meet the attorneys and they understand that all of the attorneys have been trained and we all understand contracts and we can speak intelligently about them, that the sales process isn't that difficult. But I will say, for attorneys, the majority of my work is networking, and I think part of it is because we're service-based. They need to be able to trust me.
All right, so take me back to the beginning. So starting a business for me has been a total roller coaster. I know there's highs, but I want to hear about your darkest low.
Ooh, my darkest low. Okay. My darkest low, surprisingly, actually came before I even started my firm. I have some phenomenal mentors. I was an entrepreneur and had a number of lives before I became an attorney, so I have acquired a lot of support. And once I told probably my top 5 mentors about what I wanted to do, the top 3 told me I shouldn't do it and tried to talk me out of it. And I was heartbroken, Emily. I thought, they don't believe in me. They don't think that I can do what they have done with their businesses and grow it. So that was really difficult for me to overcome in the beginning stages. Within a week of launching my firm, I had more than enough business. So that low was short-lived, fortunately. But it was, it broke my heart.
Did you ever question the business idea, though? Or were you just questioning yourself? Like, they don't believe in me, or they don't believe that the business idea is a good idea? Okay.
Both, yeah. Although I will say that I did probably take it personally more than I did about the idea, because I had spoken to a number. It wasn't the first time I had spoken about the idea. I had spoken to consumers and I had done different polls, and I knew that people were interested in the idea of having affordable, accessible legal services.
Right.
I mean, that's not a new idea. That's not novel necessarily, but I did feel like maybe they thought that I couldn't pull it off, that I wasn't ready, and I didn't have enough experience in running a business.
And you did it anyways.
Yeah. Look at me now. Haha.
I know, right? In your face.
Yeah.
So when I first had the idea for an answering service, I didn't know there were answering service, that they've been around since like the 60s. I didn't know how big of a business it was. And so the first person I tested the idea on was someone whose husband was a solopreneur. He did everything himself. And I thought, surely she would see the value of having someone help her dear husband by answering the phones, whatever he needs, scheduling his appointments, that kind of thing. So I told her, and she said, who would want that? And I didn't tell another soul.
Yep.
For almost a year after I was in business. I didn't tell anyone. I was like, protect the baby.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. It becomes you protecting your idea, and it's really kind of believing in yourself and your idea long before anybody else does. And that therein lies, I think, the issue with a lot of entrepreneurs. They have to believe in the idea and believe in what they're selling more than anyone else on the planet. And that's hard to do when you're constantly being hit with rejection.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying. Okay, so let's switch over to the consumer side of things. So we kind of get to be a voyeur in my position because I see the calls coming in for different law firms, and I kind of hear what's going on. So it's kind of like being a little voyeur, and I like being a looky-loo.
Right.
So what I'm seeing from consumers is they don't know what to ask when looking for an attorney. So they shop on price, and that is not what you want to do when you're hiring an attorney. Right. So what should people be doing?
Well, I get this question a lot as far as if I have to refer business out for something that's outside of our niche, for instance, and I always tell everybody the same thing. I say, you want to do your due diligence because this is an important decision. It's like finding a doctor. You need to be able to trust this person. You need to know that they're efficient and effective. So I say always talk to 3 attorneys at a minimum, and that's very easy to do. You just call in, you ask, can I get your rates? Can I and they all do a 1-hour free consultation usually. The other thing that I tell them to do is to get their rate sheet. Understand what their rate sheet looks like because that's where you're going to have the most issues. Understand how much you need to pay up front if there's a retention fee, how much their billable hour is going to be. If they're not doing the work, how much does their paralegal charge and so on. And not only that, negotiate with them. That's the other thing that everyone forgets. My favorite thing is to negotiate, and not a lot of Americans feel comfortable doing this. And especially if you're negotiating with an attorney, you assume that they're going to be better at negotiating than you. That's not the case. So negotiate with the attorney on the fees. And here's another really important thing about their follow through. If an attorney tells you, let's say you call these 3 attorneys and one of them says, I will follow up with you on Monday, and he or she does not call you on Monday, they're not the right person for you. If they cannot follow through on their word in the honeymoon stage, then they definitely aren't going to be able to once they retain you.
I love that. And I've seen clients of mine who are attorneys who they are consistently not showing up for the appointments. People are calling us saying, where are they? There's no one even in the office. So I would agree that, that I always say, people tell you who they are. Let them show you who they are because they don't change their spots. It's usually not a one-off.
Oh, right.
When people show you who they are, they're really showing you.
Definitely, 100%.
So go with your gut. If something doesn't feel right, say, you know what, I'm not even going to go down that road.
Yeah, and you are their client, so you should be treated as such. I mean, that's what we always assume, that we're going to attorneys and it's like, oh, thank you for helping me. But no, the truth is you're their client, and there's a ton of attorneys out there. Hire the best one for you.
I love that. And I know you give free consultations, but this is like the $1 million question. To free consult or not? Do we charge a nominal rate? Do we charge a high rate? Do we do it for free?
Right.
Do you think that there's a spot for it in different niches of law?
I think it actually there's a spot for it in every area of law. Because we are traditionally thought of it as this billable hour kind of profession. We bill by the hour. A lot of times it's difficult for attorneys to get out of that mindset. And again, why the billable hour is harming our profession. But in every profession, Emily, I don't care what you do, whether you are you operate a virtual call system or you are a plumber, you have to understand what those clients' needs are before you can before they can hire you. So I don't understand when people don't do a free consultation, because it's essentially they need to look at it as a loss leader. Either you're going to bring these people in, and let's say 50% of them are going to actually end up hiring you, or that you can actually help. But regardless, those people aren't just those clients for today, Emily. Those people could say, you could get them in there an hour consultation. They're like, you know what, never mind. We don't want to do this operating agreement yet. It's too much work. We aren't ready for it.
Right.
Well, 6 months down the road, they're going to remember that you gave them a free consult, that you were honest and open, and you were gracious about them taking the time to explain their issue to you, and then they're going to come back to you, or they'll refer somebody else to you. But if you're charging somebody to come in and have them sell you something, it doesn't make sense to me in an entrepreneurial world.
I like that.
Yeah.
I love that a lot. And I would say, take the free consultation and be upfront and set the expectation that you aren't coming in for a free hour of lawyering. This isn't for me to give you a free hour of advice. This is for us to find out if we're a good fit to work together.
100%.
And I think if you set that expectation up front, then you're good to go. You don't have people taking advantage of your time.
Exactly, and you aren't giving somebody advice when they haven't been retained. You might have conflicts and so on and so forth.
Exactly. It keeps yourself clean. Okay, perfect. So I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Wonderful.
Are you ready?
I believe so.
First thing that comes to mind. What TV character is most like you?
I think on Mondays I'm like a Homer, but by Friday or Saturday I'm definitely a Lisa from The Simpsons.
Nice. I like that. What's your favorite thing about being a lawyer?
I really, really love problem solving, but really more than that, I love helping people. I've always, ever since I was a little kid, wanted to help people, and this is a really high-level way to do it.
You are such a crusader. She was just telling me about how she's crusading against the kindergarten class. They don't do snacks anymore.
No snacks.
So she's a one-woman revolution.
Changing the PTO one kindergarten class at a time.
That's awesome. What advice would you give your younger self fresh out of law school?
I would tell her, you are good enough, you are smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. No, I'm kidding.
My sister told me that today. That's the second time I've heard that.
You gotta look in the mirror and you gotta say it. No, I really would tell her to listen to her gut and to go with what she wants. When I first started, I really thought that I had to work for kind of traditional law firms, and I did, and it was great. It was good experience. I got to know the industry. I got to help some people. That was lovely. But I really doubted my efficacy as an attorney and as a revolutionary in the industry, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have said, you can do this, Megan. This, although no one else has done this, that's okay. Be brave and go forward.
Awesome. What's something that you want other lawyers to take away from today?
I would love other lawyers to understand that they are not constrained by the traditional legal business model. I would love for them to see that this is an example of a way that you can make a living, you can help people, but also maintain that work-life balance, and that you don't have to conform. We're taught when we get out of law school that you go and you either clerk with a judge or you go and you work at one of the big law firms and you're kind of the grunt of the work, and then you move yourself way up into the partnership track and so on and so forth. That doesn't have to be your life. You can actually be extremely creative, of course within your ethical obligations, but you can be extremely creative, and the industry is asking for that. They're asking for creativity from their lawyers.
I love that. And last but not least, how do our guests find you?
Oh, of course, they can find me at www.yourcontractshop.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, but obviously yourcontractshop.com is the best place to find us.
Perfect. Megan Porth, thank you so much for being here, and have a great day.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Share the Love. Make sure to give us a thumbs up, share, and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and Google Play to get the latest content.